Hello and Happy New Year. Well, at least happy day before New Year's. Hope you're all doing well and welcome to another wonderful episode of Lean Coaching for Lean Coaches. I'm so excited today because I have one of my good lean friends that I've just gotten to know over the last couple of months and met at the Lean Solutions Summit here at the end of September and really just fell in love with this guy. And so I'm so excited to have him here today. And again, as a lean practitioner myself, my heart is to help lean consultants, people that are in that space that really need that help, especially with their business and helping getting unstuck and getting out of that feast and famine cycle. And a lot of those, the pieces of the way that I show up, the offer that I have, and the process that I use can be applied to both lean consultants internally and externally. So I'm really excited to have my good friend and CI practitioner, Dave Kippen. Thank you, Dave, for coming on in.
You bet.
How are you today, my friend?
I'm doing great. We found the end of the week. It's Friday, at least today. Maybe not when this airs. So another good week behind us.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, so you see behind the scenes, we are doing this because we will be doing our holiday things over the next couple of weeks. But nevertheless, it's good to have you here, Dave. So maybe for those who aren't connected with you, please let everybody know, what are you up to? What do you do? How do you roam in these wonderful lean streets?
Yeah, there's been a lot of streets over the years. That's for sure. So yeah. Currently, I work for a company called ADM, formerly Archer Daniels Midland. We just go by ADM now. Pretty big company, Fortune 50 company, 44,000 employees globally. And I am a performance excellence practitioner at ADM. So there's a team of, it fluctuates between 15 and 20 of us that provide performance excellence, lean manufacturing, and Six Sigma, and some other Deming principles, kind of all rebranded as performance excellence to our operations team at ADM.
Awesome, man. Well, it's great to have you here. And as you all can see behind Dave, he's got some great artistry, and so that's kind of his jam. So you'll find out the irony in that as we continue on through our conversation today. But that's your little side hustle. So
Yeah.
kind of know a little bit about artistry there.
I couldn't be more excited about what's going to happen today with you. So
yeah, if people were to see some of the photos that I'm looking at right now, they would be running for the hills. But that's okay. Well, part of what we talk about here, what I shared is, both lean consultants, both internally and externally. I think we both have kind of similar frames of reference and similar challenges if we look at more of like a higher meta level, and also similar processes and ways of working through those challenges. And that's kind of the frame of reference for our conversation today.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
what has been something that's been on your mind, something that you're really dealing with, that's driving you crazy these days in your work?
The list is long, but I think we narrowed it down to one subject to talk about today. And I think you're exactly right. Whether you're an internal consultant or if you have your own business, a lot of the challenges and wins and good things are very similar. And so I think the topic that I wanted some coaching on today will be very applicable really to anybody in the continuous improvement space. And the question I want to pose to you and want to talk about with you is, how much post-activity support should we be providing as the practitioner? So of course our role is to teach and do some facilitating. So I'm thinking of, DMAIC projects or Kaizen events. Of course, we're helping lead those and hopefully transferring some skill and knowledge while we do it. But you hear the thing that we always say we suck at is the follow-up, the control phase, if you will, if you're thinking about DMAIC. And so we did a lot of good work this year in the business unit that I'm supporting, which led to a lot of follow-up. I think we logged something like, we call them impactful engagements. We logged like 28 impactful engagements with the milling business unit, which means 28 different projects need follow-up on. And so
Ooh.
these are at plants, all over the US and Canada, different teams, and almost every one of them, a couple of them are repeats. How in the heck do I follow up on all those to see a 30, 60, 90-day trend? I feel like I'm doing too much work, but I don't know, and that's what I want to talk about.
Well, I don't think sustainability and capacity, any of those things are things that people in CI consultant roles can sympathize with at all.
Right. Nobody's ever had this problem before.
No, not at all. So thanks for bringing something new to the table. But we just because, of course, it is something that we all deal with, right? Whether, no matter what the role, it's like, okay, we have a heart to make these things stick, right? We don't want we're not just here because we love like spinning our wheels, right? We actually want to make a long-term difference. So
and I'll just add a little bit. You got me thinking. It's almost a dichotomy because on one hand we want the teams to own it. That's something we say as practitioners, right? The leadership team and the improvement team, they have to own the change and own the improvement and own the follow-up. Okay. But then on the other hand, we feel like we want to make sure that we're helping them succeed in that too. And so that's that balance that is tricky.
Where I would start, and this is like in terms of like when I have conversations with folks, it's what does the ideal look like? Like if you were going down the road, I think like 5 years. I'm not a fan of 5 or even 3-year things. A year, I think we can get a little more grip on it. But like, and then we'll come back to kind of some of the things in the today of how to navigate it. But first, we have to understand, like, we have to get a clear picture in our mind of what do we want it to look like when, like, down like a year after you're done with these 28 projects. What would you love to be seeing and hearing going on with each one of those? Like if you were to have like an ideal project, put me there in a year.
Yeah, I think ultimately what I would want is those project teams to get together and show off their success or show off their failure and what they learned about it, truly without me even being in the picture. I mean, if I'm doing my job right and the way I believe continuous improvement practitioners should act, it's help them and then get out of the way. And so ideally, I think that's what I would want to see, that they're maintaining their own control phase, their own run charts afterwards, however they're measuring their success. And then they could tell the story themselves afterwards. I do think that's ideal state.
What sorts of things, like if you were to walk by the team just like you were a fly on the wall, what would you be just seeing in the natural course of the work day that would tell you this is actually, man, this is awesome, I'm so glad I do this job every single day, this is why I do it? What are you seeing?
Boy, that's a loaded question, and it's I might have to mull that one over, my friend. I think it's challenging if you're a practitioner or a consultant that has multiple teams that are very dispersed, because there isn't a single place to go. Like if I'm a site practitioner and I'm helping different departments, we could have an Obeya space, if you will, a big visual management center where we could post results and everybody walks by and things like that. That's what I would love to see. So what's the digital version of that, or what's the virtual version of that? I don't know if we have a good answer for that. Our team has tried to share best practice SharePoint sites and Teams channels and things like that, and I don't know if we love any of them. So I would probably have to chew on that one for a while.
Well, one of the things, and I appreciate you being honest, first of all, and one of the things when I work with consultants is we try to get clear first on what their person is, their ideal person that they're working with is, the problem that they deal with, and then your unique take. And so, and I know you have your own unique vibe. You're working for a company, but there's like similar problems that are going on across the company, and you have like
Sure.
probably, I'm guessing, a certain level of people. I don't know if you work with more frontline or
Sure.
more like C-suite or whatnot, but you have that.
Yep. Yep.
So that's important, right? If we're clear on that, then that can help us then think about what's the process that we use. Like what's the goal? Obviously, your customer, like your customers, the people you're working with, what's the ultimate goal that they want? So that takes us to the question we just kind of offered, right?
Yeah.
Right. So we need to look at the ultimate destination our customers want. This is when I work with consultants. I help them go,
Yeah.
okay, what's the bottom line? For
Yeah.
me, my
Yeah.
customers they want to have business coming through the door month on month.
Yeah.
So that's my ultimate goal. Okay. So then now what's the process to get there? Now, of
Right.
course, there might be multiple different processes for you. Obviously, there's
Tools
before,
or yeah.
during, and
Yeah.
after potentially, but just in general,
Mm-hmm.
looking through that. So I thought
Mm-hmm.
maybe what we could do is I could pull up the whiteboard here and we could walk through, and you could walk me through what your, maybe like when you think about successful ones that you've done before,
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
walk me through. We can. I don't like process map, but we can like do a
Yeah. Yeah.
playbook or
Yeah.
the folks that I follow, they call it like a staircase, whatever we want, a logical flow. So let me go ahead and
Yeah.
pull that up, and then we'll go through, and you'll get to see my artistic talent on display here.
I love this.
Yeah. So you'll all get to laugh, and Dave will get to go. So let's think about down here. I don't know. We can use let's use, I guess, a circle, a star. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. Let's go here. And let's just for kicks and giggles, what's like the ultimate, and we can just write down like the ultimate destination for your teams. What would that be? Maybe just in a few words, and let's try to be as specific as we possibly can. Like maybe tangibly, what would they be? What would they love to get out of your working with them?
Yeah. Again, the facilitator answer, it depends. I think ultimately they want to close some kind of safety, quality, or delivery gap. Ultimately, that's what these teams want to do. There's a red KPI, and they do not want to be red anymore. Not that red is bad. Red just means we have an opportunity for improvement.
Is there a typical, like, I'm just trying to think, what's the, maybe like I'm just trying to like maybe put it in concrete terms. What's one, like if you've done a facilitation, obviously you've done a number of them in your time there. Maybe let's think about one of them, and what's the one maybe you're most proud of, and what they came out with, and like, oh my God, Dave, thank you so much for helping us get this.
Yeah. Also, like a specific example, so we had worked with a team out in Arc City, and they wanted to increase the load percentage of a tanker truck.
Okay.
So that was the specific outcome. They wanted to move from roughly 95% full to 98 or higher percent full.
So is it like you're talking about like productivity in some way, shape, or form, right?
Correct.
Okay, so we can just put like, let's see if I can write. We can all laugh here. Product. Oh God, this is going to be so terrible. But we might have to use a different mouse here, good people.
Yeah.
So
or the text tool for words.
Oh yeah, that's true. We could do that.
While you're drawing that in there, I did tell you ahead of time the hardest thing to do is to draw shapes with a mouse. So you've taken on the hardest task possible, my friend.
Oh well, I'm never one to back down from a challenge. So okay, so we can do this here. We can do this. I believe in us. Okay, so we said productivity.
Yes.
We're just going to go with that for now, just because we want to have something that your process is going to produce, right?
Right.
Because if you're talking about the kind of the afterward process, And maybe what
Right.
we can even talk about too is because the thing that you're working, the question you had was about the afterward
Yeah,
of the
it's really
project.
after this step. Yeah.
So
Yep.
maybe we could talk about maybe more after, like let's say in a year from now, some of the things you just named. I think that would probably be better, more appropriate for what we're kind of working on here. So let's talk about that. Let's type that up in here because I think that's more appropriate for this process. So
So
what
it's
were those
really it's
things
the
again that you would like to see like a year from now from your teams that you really kicked ass with?
Yeah, I mean, I want to see a visual result. I want to see some kind of chart or Pareto or something easy to understand what was the before and what was the after, and that a plant could easily discuss with whomever wants to know.
So visual management, is that
Sure.
right? It's not super sexy, right? But
Maybe just add the word results in there to make it a little more clear.
okay. Oh, with the visual management?
Right.
Okay. Let's see. Visual management results. Okay, so what is that? So they're able to see that what's going on in the business still a year later. Okay.
Yep.
So we can do 1 year. We can go equals visual management. Okay. So that's still happening versus what? Just so we have kind of a contrast real quick, and then we'll start mapping out this path here.
Yeah. Versus everybody's forgotten the work we did and nobody knows.
That never happens.
I wish.
So walk me through just maybe, if we can come up with maybe like 5 steps, like in your ideal process, when this has happened, when you've seen this happen in this way, where a year later you got the visual management going, the team is really kicking butt, they're still there. Walk me through the process that's led to that in one of those scenarios. Just in general, what's the first thing you do when you're working with a team that's
Yeah, I'm trying to get my bearings on where we're at in the project. So somewhere in there is a clear identification of the gap statement. So prior to this, and this is something I see teams miss a lot, is how do we even articulate what good is going to look like?
And if they did that, like what's the outcome? Because we want to be like, when we're thinking about this, it's helpful to think about our process in terms of the outcomes that you're delivering for them. So
to me, it's a written gap statement. If I can't write it down, then I got no chance of making a visual.
Gap. And is that something in terms of for you or them? Like, what's the outcome that is this the outcome for them that they're going to get?
I don't think it's an outcome. I think it's an input. I think that this is something that I need as the facilitator, practitioner, support guy, and it's something they need. so they all are knowing exactly which problem they're working on.
All right. So you have a written gap statement. So that's like the first step of working with a team. Okay. So what's the next piece? Once you have that gap statement, what do you do next?
So somewhere in here, we're actually doing the improvement work, but usually there's a little more scoping that happens next.
So you do some type of
charter document or some scoping or yeah.
Okay. And what happens from like what's the result of that when things are scoped?
It's almost we all use different words. It's again a written or documented statement of work or charter document or
Okay. All right. So you have like the gap statement, the scope.
Yep.
Then what happens after you scope it out?
Prep and plan the improvement activity.
Okay, so we prep and plan. And so we can do that. Okay. So that'll go here, prep and plan. Okay. And you can see all my amazing artwork here.
Hey man, you're rocking it.
Prep and plan. Okay, if I can, if it's possible for me to do this. Okay. I will. And see, we're experimenting here with this. So, okay, prep and plan. Okay, great. Pre and plan, of course, prep and plan. Okay, so then when you're done with prepping and planning, where do you go next?
And then we do the thing. So execute improvement methodology, whatever word's easiest to type. Run a Kaizen event, perform a DMAIC, whatever word you want to go in there. We do them all. So basically, CI activity.
That's my square. Okay, y'all. That's what we're gonna go with right now because that's just it. Okay, so that's going down. Okay, so we do the actual exit. We do the event effectively, and okay, so event, and then now what's the when you've done this well? What happens after the event?
Well, I suppose if I'm thinking about ideal state, the team, the improvement team, is doing all the follow-up reporting. I mean, I guess that is what good looks like.
Have you seen that happen?
It's rare in my experience.
But have you seen it? Like, have you seen that happen?
Yeah, it's happened.
Okay. Like part of this is looking at when these things have happened so that you can, for lack of a better word, reverse engineer and look at it and go, oh yeah, when we've done this well and a year later and we had this thing going on, like this is the way we did it. Oh, okay. So let's think about how we could make that into a process. So what was this part again? You said they do.
The improvement team is reporting their own results essentially.
So your team?
Not my team, no.
Oh, the improvement team of the team you're helping.
Correct.
Got it. Okay. Improvement team reports. Okay. Okay. And then what happens in between this and then the year?
There probably really is no gap in there. That the 1 year is a continuation of the next one, I suppose.
Is this happening at a certain cadence?
We have no. I was going to make something up, Sam, but no.
Okay.
We have some guidelines that we like to use. For the first 30 days, we coach a weekly cadence. Then after that, monthly for 6 months. So maybe I could have corrected yours as 1 year, but we only go 6 months. At the end of 6 months of reporting results, we make a decision, either thumbs up and let's have a party, or we missed the boat somewhere and we've got to go back to square one. But
okay.
But it's fine the way you've got it. Yeah, some long period of reporting results.
So it seems to me like right in here is where your question is, right?
Yeah.
So my wonder is if it would be helpful to maybe go in right in here and draw out, like, thinking about the way your current process works and the way you'd like it to work,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
step by step, and see what
Yep.
the go ahead, you were going to say, but see what the gap
No,
is there.
yeah, well, I think it's the gap. And you Jedi mind tricked me, you son of a gun. When you said, has this happened? And I said, well, yeah, I've got some examples. Why don't I just document what went right in those examples and use that as the standard? So for the one example out of the 26 where the plant team truly did own it afterwards, it's almost like a pre-mortem, right? What went right? What was different about that one versus the other 25 that I felt like I had to do it afterwards? So I think it's a combination of what you said. It's look at that space in between, but start from a place where success has happened.
Yeah, this is one thing, as a like consultant, if you're doing business, and even if you're an internal consultant, and you have people that you're like, you want to help them and you're like, they're kind of resistant, or even the people who like you're trying to figure out for yourself. If you've done it once before, you can do it again,
Right.
right?
Right.
And
Or at
so
least
it's
you have
just
the playbook. Yeah. The recipe for sure. Yep.
so then it's just like you just named, like how can I document that so I can go back and do it again?
Right. Right.
Um,
No, that's great.
so I'm just thinking, what feels like the best next step for you leaving here to help navigate that
Yeah.
gap that you brought to the table?
I think I need to do a little bit of that heads down work. Let me think about a couple of those improvement projects where that did work well, and let me write down a list of all the good things that happened, or the cause and effect, the cause of why it happened.
Two other questions. I'm going to do the terrible thing and ask them together because you should never pair them. But when will you do that by? And then what do you expect from it?
Yeah. Yeah. I love pulling in a little bit of kata for sure. I've actually got some open time the next couple of weeks, so I'll say I could have that done by January 31st. And what I hope to learn, I hope to gather a list of those best practices that I could then turn into a standard and add it to our current process. So I hope to learn what the best practices are.
Well, if we had more time, and I wish we did, I would ask you the question, how quickly can we go and see? Because sometimes we give ourselves too much of a runway when all we really need to do is just go do that and try it out, right? Versus like, well, I've got this. One of my first lean coaching for lean coaches, I asked that question. She did it the next day, and that became a future client. So
wow.
It's just that tendency towards action, which I know you are.
Right.
I'm wondering for you, as you think about this conversation, we land the plane, we got like 45 seconds here. What did you find most valuable about this conversation today?
Well, you're amazing for starters. The way you guide the conversation is spectacular. I love the added visual. I think you said maybe this was the first time you've tried it. Having that one shared visual makes all discussions much easier. So I would, if you want a little coaching, continue running that experiment, see how it goes for other folks.
And for you personally, what was most valuable?
Well, you Jedi mind tricked me just by asking questions. And normally I'm the Jedi, so that was really good to just get me to say the thing out loud that I needed to hear.
Well, that's the power of coaching, right? And if you're someone who's a lean consultant or coach, and you need someone to help you navigate that, get the feast and famine out of that cycle, I'm here for you. Shoot me a DM. Dave, thank you so much for joining. Connect with Dave and have a wonderful new year, my friend. And to you all
you too. You too.
Be well.
Thanks
Take
for
care,
having
everybody.
me.